This is Open Line on the VOCM Big Land FM radio network.
Welcome back to the show. Let's go to line number 6. Good morning, Bill. You're on the air.
Good morning, Patty. How are you today?
Doing well, thanks. How about you?
Very good, very good. Very excited here this morning. I'm with Protect NL, and we're kicking off our initiative Rally for the Rock this morning. Island-wide rally to raise awareness about the reckless renewable projects being proposed, specifically the wind energy, hydrogen, ammonia plants across the island. And today is the day we kick it all off. Our boots are on the ground right now out in Codroy this morning. This afternoon they're going to be out in Bay St. George. Tomorrow morning in Stephenville. Tomorrow afternoon in the Port-au-Port Peninsula. Corner Brook on Sunday. Grand Falls, Windsor Monday, and out here in my neck of the woods in Botwood on Tuesday. And we're going to go right across the island, but I'll call back next week with the rest of the details on our stops, and then the next Saturday out in St. John's.
Fair enough. And so, Bill, for you, now everyone's got different levels of concern about different facets of the proposals. Where do you start with your concerns, if we can just discuss some of the issues?
Well, again, the biggest thing would have to be transparency to the public. None of the companies, the government, whether it be local councils or provincial government, are forthcoming with information, and we're just loaded with questions. And as you can imagine, anything that's of this size and scope of a development has so many questions that, if not answered, just leads to speculation, and that's no good for anybody.
No, fair enough. But like questions that are not being answered, such as,
okay. Why are the projects that were given wind recommendation letters proceeding with construction work without permits from Crown Lands? We're trying to get these answers out here in Central right now. They're going and clear cutting big swaths of land. We're documenting, and we can't find no permits. We've put in the calls to government, and it seems that they don't exist, or they're not prepared to share them with us.
That's something I can chase, because, when they were released from their environmental assessment, does that, because, they told the company to go back to the well looking at things like constructions of roads and the amount of equipment that's going to be carried over these roads. So did the release in the environmental assessment allow for this sort of pre-construction work to take place?
We're not at this stage yet here out in Everett. So the only one that's been released with the 60 conditions is the World GH2.
Oh, I thought you were talking on the Port-au-Port Peninsula. Pardon me.
So the rally's out on the Port-au-Port today. Sorry. We're trying to take this across the island, right? So I'm speaking for the Everett proposal specifically. The biggest issues, out on Port-au-Port are 12 months ahead of us. So they've been kind of the harbinger of what's to come for us out here in Central. Helping us prepare, and the work that's proceeding out there is not known to the people. They can't connect the dots to how are these massive salt caverns going to tie into ammonia and hydrogen and offshore and onshore. Like, the scope is so huge, you just can't wrap your head around how is this really going to impact us. That's our biggest concern.
What's your concern with the salt caverns?
Well, what is it all about, right? Why are we storing immense amounts of hydrogen in salt caverns, right? And it's the unknown factors. There's been no public information campaign to speak of. Out here in Central, I can only speak specifically to the details. Brenda Lee is much more aware of the West Coast details because she's been living it for the last 18 months. Out here in Central, the information that they're providing changes constantly, and it's so limited that we can't make informed decisions.
Right, and
does that make sense?
Yeah, fair enough. I didn't know we were talking about your position with Everett. I thought for sure we were on the Port-au-Port Peninsula. The salt cavern thing, all I can really find out about it is that it's been proven to be a very effective way to store hydrogen. And of course, someone asked me, whenever it was, a couple of weeks ago, about the impact for the water table. And of course, I'm not so sure there's any actual risk there, given the fact that hydrogen is one of the components of water. So I don't really understand that concern, to be honest. Now, maybe I'm missing some important point here, but all I will say is every single question needs to be answered, whether it be by the proponent and or the government, whether it be the Department of Energy and Technology or whether it be the Department of the Environment. I don't begrudge anybody asking a question, because if the questions aren't answered, as I think you rightfully pointed out earlier, people's minds go down the worst case scenario road. It's just human nature. That's how we are. That's how we all conduct ourselves. When you don't get an answer, you think the worst.
And that's why I floated the idea out to you there a couple of weeks ago, Patty, about this. We'd love to have our team get together with the government. The companies are going. Anybody can look at it and realize that the companies are going to have one slant from their vision is going to be in one direction. So our government has been elected. Their oath of office is to protect the people and the environment above the economy. Right? Our health is the number one thing. So they should be front and center in this debate. Champion our cause. I understand the need for economic development, and we're not opposed to it at all. But this thing is going way too fast with too many unknowns.
What also strikes me, Bill, I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. We haven't heard this level of the general public in certain parts of the province talking about and pushing back regarding the environmental sensitivities of the wind projects, because unless it's the Sierra Club of Canada and others who have been, constantly on the environmental front, we don't hear a whole lot when we hear about mine expansions or new mines being opened or new oil fields being developed. It's kind of curious. Do you think that's curious as well? Because, we talk about the environmental damage of oil wells and the eventual use of the fossil fuels and or mining expansion and even hydroelectricity when we talk about developments at Muskrat. Didn't quite get the same environmental focus as these projects are getting. What do you think?
Well, let's just take a look at a single turbine structure, okay? So this thing is going to, depending on the layer of bedrock below it, they're going to drive hundreds of pilings down hundreds of feet to begin preparation for pouring this massive foundation. So this is where a lot of the damage occurs, is in aquifers, okay? Especially when you look out in Central, they're doing 540 of these sites. So what aquifers are going to be destroyed by going that far down? Nobody's going to do a study. It's in Ontario with the 19,000 that they developed up there. It's like, well, we'll do it and then we'll find out what happens. And then they just deny and refuse to take responsibility. That when you break into the ground, and when you look at oil and gas, well, you're putting this small casing down through, right? And there are some environmental factors, of course, but nowhere on the scope of the amount of iron that we're going to pound into the ground, the amount of explosives that's going to be required to just prepare that hole. 600 plus cement trucks full of cement just to pour that base. And we're going to do 540 of these, right? The scope is so mind-boggling that the average person just can't wrap their head around it. So that's why we're having Rally for the Rock. We're going to get that information out to the people. How do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So we'll take one piece of information at a time and put it out there. And people are connecting. Just in the last couple of days, just in the send-off, we've gotten over 1,200 people. We've just watched my friends leave here just to drive out to start this today. Right? The numbers are growing. We'd like to see Mr. Parsons and Cabinet take a role in this and come to Botwood. They've been invited here. They've never come to Botwood. They're going to put a $12 million plan, and no one come here to brag it up or to defend the position or do anything. That's outrageous.
I appreciate your time this morning, Bill, and you're welcome next week to share details with the extension and the moving further afield with the Protect NL Rally for the Rock.
We're looking forward to hearing from the people, and thank you very much for your time, Patty, and it's great talking to you.
Appreciate your time, sir. Have a nice weekend.
You too. Bye.
Okay, thanks. Bye-bye.